You've been told the same advice your whole life. Save more, cut the coffee, stick to a budget, and yet somehow the people who actually became wealthy barely saved a thing. That's not a typo. Most truly rich people don't save money the way you've been taught to. They do something completely different, and once you understand it, the way you think about money will never be the same. Stick around because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what that difference is and how to start using it yourself. Work hard, earn a paycheck, set aside a little every month, and one day that pile of savings turns into wealth. It sounds responsible. It sounds safe. It's the advice every parent, every teacher, every financial guru on TV tells you. And it's almost completely wrong. If you stuffed every spare dollar into a savings account for 30 years, you'd end up with a pile of dollars. A bigger pile, sure, but slowly losing value the entire time because inflation quietly eats away at cash sitting still. The price of groceries goes up. The price of housing goes up. And your savings account, even with a little interest, often can't keep pace. Meanwhile, the people who get rich aren't hoarding cash under a mattress of caution. They're doing something that feels, frankly, a little uncomfortable to most people. They're putting their money to work instead of putting it to sleep. Saving protects you. It doesn't grow you. And those are two very different jobs for two very different amounts of money. This is the first mental shift you need to make if you actually want. Build wealth instead of just feeling responsible about money. So what's the alternative? It comes down to a simple shift. Instead of asking, how much can I save? Wealthy people ask, where can this money go to make more of itself? That might mean index funds quietly compounding in the background year after year without anyone watching them closely. It might mean owning a small piece of a business, even just through stock ownership. It might mean real estate, generating rent while slowly appreciating in value. Or it might be as simple as reinvesting profits back into something that's already working rather than cashing out the moment there's a win. The common thread isn't the specific investment, it's the mindset. Every dollar has a job, and that job is never just sit there. There's a quiet kind of math behind this. A dollar saved stays a dollar, plus a tiny bit of interest. A dollar invested, given enough time, can quietly turn into 2, then 4, then 8. Not through luck, not through some secret stock tip, but through the simple, almost boring power of compounding. Money making money, which then makes more money, most people never have the patience for. The rich aren't smarter savers, they're patient owners. They understand that wealth isn't built in a single dramatic moment. It's built in thousands of small, boring decisions to leave money alone and let it grow. Repeated over years and sometimes decades. Here's the part nobody talks about. This isn't really a money skill. It's a psychology shift, and it's the real reason most people never make it. Most of us are wired to avoid loss more than we're wired to seek gain. $100 feels worse, emotionally, than gaining $100 feels good. This isn't a character flaw. It's just how human brains evolved, built for a world where losing resources could mean real danger. So when our savings account shows a steady, predictable number going up by a little bit each month, it feels safe, it feels good. Watching an investment account dip 10% in a bad week? That feels like danger, even when, historically, that dip is temporary and the long-term trend keeps climbing. This is exactly why most people stay stuck. Not because they don't know investing exists, not because they lack the money to start. You can begin with far less than people assume. They stay stuck because the discomfort of watching a number go down, even briefly, feels worse than the slow, quiet cost of doing nothing at all. And doing nothing feels like safety, even when it's actually the riskier long-term choice. Wealthy people aren't immune to this feeling. They feel the same fear everyone else does when markets drop. They just don't let the feeling make the decision for them. They've trained themselves, often the hard way, through real losses and real recoveries, to sit through the uncomfortable dips because they understand something most people never internalize. Time in the market matters more than perfectly timing the market. Nobody rings a bell at the bottom telling you when to buy. Let's make this concrete. Think of two people, both starting with the exact same amount of money, $50,000. Person A keeps that $50,000 in a savings account for 20 years, adding a little here and there, watching the number creep up slowly and safely. News mentions a market downturn. Person A feels relieved they're not exposed to it. Person B puts that same $50,000 into a simple, diversified investment and does something that sounds almost too simple to work. Nothing. They don't check it every day. They don't panic during the bad months, the ones where the value drops and every instinct screams to pull the money out. They just leave it alone and let time do the work, year after year. 20 years later, Person A has a number that feels familiar and safe, value to inflation along the way, even though the number on the screen looks bigger than when they started. Person B, who took on short-term discomfort for long-term growth, often ends up with a number that more than doubles or even triples what Person A has, simply because compounding had 2 decades to work uninterrupted. Same starting amount, same 20 years, wildly different outcome. The only difference was what each person was willing to feel along the way, and whether they let that feeling control their decisions. To recklessly throw your money at anything risky, or to abandon saving altogether. Saving still matters, for emergencies, for short-term goals, for the simple peace of mind that comes from having a cushion. That part of the advice was never wrong, and you shouldn't ignore it. But if saving is the only thing you're doing with your money, you're playing a defensive game your entire life, and then wondering why you never seem to get ahead, no matter how disciplined you are. The shift isn't abandoning saving. It's adding a second habit on top of it, putting a portion of what you earn somewhere it can actually grow, and then having the patience to leave it alone, even when it's uncomfortable. That single shift from protect the money to put some of the money to work is closer to the real difference between staying comfortable for life and actually building wealth. It's less about finding some secret investment nobody else knows about, and more about changing the relationship you have with your own money and your own fear. So the next time someone tells you to just save more, remember, that's only half the story. The other half is what you do with the money once it's saved, and whether you're brave enough to let it grow instead of just letting it sit. If this gave you a different way to think about your money, hit subscribe. This channel breaks down the real psychology behind wealth every single week. No fluff, no hype, just the mindset shifts that actually matter. And let me know your thoughts down in the comments below.